The Essential TEFL Survival Guide. Lesson 3. Using the board. Like I discussed in the intro, board usage is one of the most underrated, underutilized, and underappreciated tools at the disposal of the ESL teacher. A well-managed and well-organized board can be the difference between a good and a bad class. In this lesson, we are going to look at the board and how we can make it more effective, more appealing, and more attractive to your classes and your students. We will look at examples of good and bad board usage. We'll also look at the basic Blackboard rules along with emphasizing information and organizing the Blackboard so it's effective. We'll also look at things like using tables and how we can structure it for classroom and behavior management. Board work. Good and bad examples. Okay, so I have a task for you before we begin. I'm going to show you 2 pictures. Before I reveal my comments and analysis on each of them, I want you to decide whether it's a positive or negative example of board work, what aspects could be considered negative or seen as detrimental, and I want you to think about what aspects are positive and could be seen as useful. You need to try and place yourself in the shoes of the students and try to imagine how they would react or feel if they saw their teacher acting in this way. So, picture 1. Do you think this is a bad or good example? I would say this is a bad example. Overall, this teacher is presenting a poor image to the class. He has his hand in his pocket and he has his back to the class, which not only disconnects the students and gives them time to mess around, talk and get distracted, it also seems like the teacher is not that interested in them. As well as this, his writing is messy and unintelligible. You cannot see what he's writing because he's blocking what he's writing and blocking the view of the board in general. This is just a bad idea and you need to think about your positioning when you're using the board. So here is picture 2. And as you probably guessed, this is a good example. This teacher has good positioning. He's on the left-hand side of the board and he's not blocking the view of any of the students. He's also speaking while he's writing or presenting. This is important because it shows that you're going over the material with the students and it keeps them involved and engaged. Because his back is not to the class, he can see the class, and the class can see his face and his eyes. This again keeps the students' attention and it lets them know that teacher is monitoring them and watching them and paying attention. His writing is clear and his writing is centered and prominent. This is important. You want to display the information so that everybody in the class can see it clearly. Overall, this teacher is presenting a professional image. So, now let's go over some basic board rules. Number 1. You want to write neatly and clearly and straight. You want to write large enough for everybody to be able to see. Number 2. You want to maintain good posture and a professional demeanor at all times. This is sometimes overlooked by teachers, but it reflects on your class as well. If you are slouching and looking like you don't care, then the children or students will feel the same way. Number 3. Stand to the side and don't block the view. This is quite obvious because you don't want to be blocking what you're writing. You want to make sure that the kids and the students at the side of the classrooms and the back of the classrooms can see everything you're writing on the board nice and clearly. Number 4. Keep eye contact with the class at all times. Now this can be a little tricky, especially when you're trying to write things down, but you can position your body so you're able to write and you're able to keep an eye on the class as well. It's important to do this because you do not want your students to disconnect with what you're doing. Number 5, speak while you're writing. In the same vein as keeping your eyes on the class, this helps them not disconnect. If you're talking to them while you're writing the things down, you're helping them understand what is going on and what you're expecting from them. Number 6, make it interesting and visual. We will talk more about this later in the lesson, but you need to think about how you can make your blocks of text, which can be rather boring to look at, interesting and visual for the students. Colours, circles, pictures are all good ways to do this.